Hello, everybody. Welcome to the program today. I'm Mitch Carson here at the ABC East Lane Bowling Center, and you can hear the loud interaction behind me as people are here bowling, rolling the balls, and hitting the crashing sound of the pins. And speaking of bowling, I am here with a bowler who knows a lot about bowling, and I have bowled with him in bowling before, Josh Alcock. And it's great to have you here, Josh.
Thanks for having me, Mitch.
It's my pleasure. So, you've been in bowling for a long time now.
I have now. I started in 8th grade, so that would make about 8 years now. 9 years.
So, was there something that wanted to get you started in the sport of bowling?
Well, I started because I stopped playing basketball because when I quit, I was very short and did not have too much fun. So, for a year, I tried swimming, didn't really love that. And then is actually the owner of East, Daryl Bauer, who came to me and he said, "Hey, why don't you try out bowling?" when me and my family were coming. And after that moment, I was hooked.
Okay, so you tried it once with your family, and then you realized how good of a game.
Yeah, we would come like once a month, maybe. I always beat them. And, the dad always wants to beat his kids, but that's not quite what happened here.
So it was that game and the owner that got you hooked into the
Yeah, it was definitely that, and then going and kind of picking it up quickly. And I joined a team to start, not just an individual, which I joined Mitch's team here.
That's right.
So got to get to know people quickly and got hooked.
So, when you started bowling, did you think you would stay in it this long? Did you think you would leave?
I think I knew that bowling is something you can do as a lifelong sport, so I definitely wasn't planning on 2 years and quitting or anything, but I didn't know I'd be as active as I am now in multiple leagues and tournaments and such. I thought I might just take it as more of a casual thing.
So it was all the steps that you did, like when you started, leading up to where you are now with the game.
Yes. Yeah, it was definitely a process going from one a week to, I think at my most I was bowling in 2 leagues and subbing in a league and then doing tournaments on the weekends.
So it's basically like this. You start off by doing a little bit at the beginning and then more as you go on.
Yep, that's how it was.
And one thing I remember very well back when I bowled with you, this was back when you were in high school, you bowled a 300 game.
That I did.
Do you recall what you were feeling like when that happened?
So my first one was actually here at East in a doubles league with my dad. And I was not great at that point, so it was definitely a jump to be shooting 200s and then shoot a perfect game. So I definitely hooked forever at that point. I was nervous. I was shaking. I could barely even throw a ball.
So did you realize that the 300 was considered a possibility when you were getting all those strikes during the game?
I think so. I think it typically hits me around the 8th frame that I start getting a little jittery, and then typically the 10th frame, the first ball, that hits me the worst. And once I get over that one, the next two are a little easier.
So the moment you realized you got 12 strikes in a row, was that your thing? I'm actually good at this. Did you?
Yeah, I think in general, my average jumped up pretty high in my first 2 years or 3 years of bowling. So I kind of knew, and doing a bowling team I did, we went to the state level as my first year bowling. So I knew pretty quickly that I was going to be decent, but that was definitely the first milestone to it saying, yeah, I'm pretty good at this.
So that was the milestone that started it all.
Yep.
So, and you were on a bowling team in high school, and I remember I was on that team with you. Do you recall, what was your biggest accomplishment when you were on Middletown High School's bowling team?
I would say the biggest accomplishment was going to the not state, but regionals are for 2 years out of the 4 years, and competing pretty well. I think our best place was 6th maybe at regionals, and we were a bunch of guys that bowled once, twice a week.
I remember that.
We weren't people that were coming in every day and throwing, so we had a lot of fun. We had a good team with yourself, myself, Eric Bellis, Cole Couts, Andy Geiger, and it was just a solid group.
I remember, and that was a group of boys I remember well. And so then, after you graduated high school, you went on and continued to do the sport up at Penn State. So what was your biggest accomplishment being on Penn State's bowl?
That has to have been kind of where I took the program. So when I got there, the program was kind of in a dead spot. We didn't have too many people coming from the 2 classes before me, and then we didn't have a coach. And we had some guys from the local area that came and helped, but when we went to tournaments, we were alone. So we went from that, getting 5th, 6th at tiny tournaments, to my last 2 years, we ended up going to Club Nationals, which is top 24 club teams in the nation, all going to Indianapolis the 1 year and Nashville the next year. So we went, we competed well. We didn't get last, which is the major key there.
That would be a good thing, so to say,
yeah.
that you didn't come in last.
Yeah, and then definitely elevating the club, because Penn State has different tiers for their club sports. And I took us from the lowest tier, a C tier, and in 2 years of being the president, I got us up to the A tier, the highest tier that Penn State had.
So that was like the biggest accomplishment that you had made at Penn State.
I think so, yeah. Kind of putting the club in a much better spot than when I went. That and winning the high average for a tournament, winning a couple of tournaments as well, against even some local guys that were in college. That was my biggest personal accomplishment, bowling-wise. But
so you did this sport through high school and college. So when you went on from high school to college, do you remember like feeling like nervous now that you were doing a sport at a college level rather than a high school?
Definitely. I know when I went to Penn State, I started out as a sub, so a little less pressure in some ways, but a little more pressure when you get subbed in for one ball and you have to make that ball count, or else you're not probably going to get subbed in again. So there's a little more in the moment pressure, definitely. And then bowling-wise, everyone was just so much better once you got to college, because everyone there was bowling in college. Like, this is something that they didn't just do in high school because they wanted to be with their friends or something like that. This was, they love bowling, they're good at bowling, and now they're competing.
And we've talked about the friends that you've made throughout your time participating in this sport. Have you made good friends throughout your time in the sport of bowling?
Yeah, I definitely say that everyone I've met and bowled with, I've enjoyed, minus 1 or 2 bad eggs, but in general, everyone's great, and I've definitely met my closest friends in college were a bowling team, because we spent 3 nights a week together. If there was a tournament, and 4 nights a week. We spent probably, if there wasn't a tournament, we spent our weekends together doing other things, and if there was a tournament, we were bowling for 8 hours a day and sleeping in the same hotel rooms and driving together. So it was, all of my time was spent with those guys, and they're definitely the best friends that I made in college.
So whether it was in the game, in the sport of bowling or not, you were with your friends.
Yep, definitely. You don't always have to take it serious. Like, sometimes it's just goofing around with your friends, even at the alley. We had 9 o'clock practices, 9 at night, at 11 p.m.
So you started the sport of bowling when you were a kid, and now you're now an adult, and you're still doing the sport. So, what is bowling like as an adult, and how different was it back when you were in high school?
Yeah, it's definitely a lot more of, and it depends on your league, but it's a lot more people that have done bowling for a long time. They're not just there for a year or two and then they're done. They might not even be the best, but they enjoy it so much, and they enjoy the bonds they've made with people since. Most leagues, there's kind of two sessions. There's a summer session and a winter session, the winter being longer, and almost all winter leagues are all team-based, whereas summer is a lot more individual-based. So you get some of these big team leagues, and you're meeting 5 people your first week, 5 people your second week, 5 people your third week, and every single one of them is dedicated to bowling. So competition-wise, it not necessarily, I think it's less than college was, but you're also not as focused because you're there to have fun as well. You're not just there for the game. So it's definitely got a different atmosphere than college bowling, and you're joking around with other teams as well, which that does not happen in college. You might have a friend or two on a team, but in general, it's your team, and then you might congratulate a guy who does well, versus now everyone's talking crap at these lanes, and when you're bowling against each other, you just gotta roll with the punches and know that you can give it back to them.
And so, what the main thing would you say here was that during the sport with the friends that you had fun doing the sport?
Yes. If you do anything and don't have fun, you probably shouldn't be doing it anymore.
Well, Josh, congratulations on all your accomplishments in the sport of bowling, and we look forward to seeing more accomplishments from you in the years to come.
Thank you, Mitch.
My pleasure. And I'm Mitch Carson. Thanks for watching, and let's go bowling.